Hey, welcome back to the table. We are going to try part 3. So some of you may have noticed that I added an errata video. I'll go through it super duper quick. Basically, the battle plans don't go back in the cup for the Japanese, and I was putting them back in the cup. So I think that does change the outcome a bit, because, like, for example, if you have that one that prevents a hit to a carrier, and then you hit the carrier and it goes back in the cup, you could potentially draw it again, and that was frustrating me. But it could also help the Japanese too, because sometimes they need the artillery one because it's only a land war, and by throwing back in the cup those crappy ones that don't apply to them, that's improving the chances that it's helping me. So that's a mixed bag. You're not allowed to reduce the turns to 0 like I tried to do in the last campaign. So that's a bummer. You have to wait until the end of the first battle round before you can decide whether you're moving it up or down. So no matter what, you're doing at least one battle turn. Hawaii is an automatic campaign defeat if you don't defeat all the troops. That doesn't apply to our last game, but the first one it does. So I'm really glad I called it, because there was no winning that one anyways. And then last one is the debate. And it's just based on how the rules are worded. They're really wonky. So the rules, as you can see, I mean, if I get a support action, I increase the resupply counter by 1. But if they're already in East Asia and Japan, I'm supposed to do a hold. Well, the question is if I do a hold, do I advance it by 4 or do I still advance it by 1? I mean, the rule book says do a hold, and then the next sentence it says advance by 1. So it can confuse you and it confused me, because I was thinking, okay, I'm going to do the hold action, but I'm still going to advance it by 1, because that's what the rules say. But the rules tell you with all these actions, at the very end, the last sentence is advance by 4, advance by 2, advance by 1. It's just thrown in there and slapped on at the end. And I think that whoever wrote the rules didn't pay attention to the fact that they just told you to go do a hold order. So I think what it's supposed to say, this is my interpretation, is if you didn't do a hold order, you're going to advance by 1, even though this sentence is after the hold order sentence. I really do. But I think you'll agree with me, if you're this far into my videos, that by advancing by 4 every time a hold action happens, that is a tremendously difficult game, because it's increasing the chances that they're going to pummel me in midway. Yeah, I like a challenge. This one might be too much of a challenge. And really, to be honest, let's just be fair and honest here. The challenge that we're having is this dang board. I think they made it so you have like a slow start, because it's a campaign game, right? You're going all the way to 1945. So how do they make it so it's interesting? So they added that little feature. I don't know what to say about it. It's really hard. Because if I was able to replace my carriers right away, just like Japan did, or if I was able to get my infantry out quicker without having to experience delays, I probably wouldn't have as much of an issue with the way the game's playing. But because of this, I am having issues. So that is really the thing that's making my brain hurt. But yeah, let's try another game. And I want to give it another crack. And I just realized my 2 sunken carriers weren't in the game, so I just added those back in. And oh, by the way, somebody clarified for me, Yorktown and Lexington. Yorktown went down in the Coral Sea, Lexington went down after Midway, and both of them were rebuilt as Essex-class carriers, hence the reason the Lexington II, I guess they renamed them, or gave them the same name. So they were Essex-class carriers. So that's where a lot of that confusion is. So thank you so much for explaining that. And yeah, let's get going here. All right, so my strategy is still, you got to hold Midway. I mean, we just learned that Hawaii is even more precarious. So I don't think I did anything wrong there. Somebody suggested, okay, what if you just paid the battle plan points to scout their difficult fleets. So the most difficult fleets Japan has, scout them early, because we've already talked about this strategy. You know, if you scout early, the reinforcement supply points are at 0, so you're going to only get one of these 3 actions if you scout early. So it's not very exciting from a, oh, they're coming to Midway, so I know I can go pounce on them perspective. That's not going to happen, but by scouting them early, we're basically gimping them. And what I mean by gimping them, I don't know if that's a slang term, maybe European friends don't know. You're handicapping them, or you're blocking them. And so, and what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is, here, let's take a look. Probably the toughest fleet out there is the battleship fleet, because it has 3 really strong battleships, and it's carrying 4 transports. So those 4 transports make a land invasion very brutal. And another argument is carrier fleet 4 and 5, actually 3, 4, and 5 are super tough, because look, they're loaded to the gills with carriers. This one has 4 carriers in it. This one has 3, and this one has 2. Now, but it's loaded with a battleship and other goodies. So there's a lot of ships involved with these. So the idea is that, hey, I'm going to do scouting on them, because that's where the majority of the Japanese forces are. I'm going to do it early, which is going to force them to stay in Japan or not go anywhere. So that way, you know, somebody's eventually going to Midway, because as you know, that supply counter is going to move up. But whoever does move to Midway, it's going to be the weaker forces, because the stronger ones are stuck because I gimped them. And that's a very interesting strategy. Now, to pull that off, we would need to save 4 battle points every round just for scouting. And that's not fun, but losing the game isn't fun either. So we may have to do that, and then just slow down how aggressive I am at building up the industry, and just accept the fact that in 1942, at least in the early stages, we're not building anything. So I'm going to try this strategy. I'm also going to consider that having the extra battle plan points is nice. Although I really decided, I thought this one, I was so excited about this one, and then I saw that 7+ and figured out what that meant. I don't like this one as much. I mean, what's the chances you're going to roll more than a 7 so you can do a pre-strike? I mean, and then you're spending 2 of your battle plan points just for something that may not happen the entire battle. I don't like that at all. So anyways, let's get started here. So we advanced the turn counter. I don't think there was any rata rolls around that, so let's go ahead and do that. And then we do the supply phase, and this, of course, is the bane of my existence. And I am grabbing 20 points, and I am going to break up one of my 10s. Okay, so here's my situation. I am putting, so I'm going to put this 2 here so you can see it. I'm putting 8 points here because I still need to unlock the morale. That is still top priority. And then that was, and then there's 10 more points there. Okay. So by spending 8 points, I have 12 points left. So if we're going to do our strategy, I'm going to spend 4 points. Just on scouting. Oh, that hurts. So that leaves me with 6 left here and 2 more, so 8. So I think for sure I want to spend 3 points to get 3 infantry out. And I want to make sure one of them's the Australian one. And we can get the 32nd and the 25th going. And yes, only one of them is going to advance next turn, but that's the way it's going to be. And then I have 5 left. Part of me, I don't know why, but I like to build the carrier, even though I know it's not going to progress. But by having it on the sheet, that's one less carrier I have to build in the future. But because it's not going to progress, if you're really thinking about this smartly, which I admit I wasn't, you just save the points then, because it's the same difference. And so that's what I'm going to do. I know I wanted to get aggressive about upgrading this, which I still do because that increases my capacity to 6, so I can get more infantry on the board. That is a very powerful concept. The thing is, am I going to be able to afford 5 next turn to be able to do that? And do I want the extra battle plan points so I can win my battles? That's my other conundrum. Oh, I'm going to do it. I will do that. I'm going to take away the 4 points because we're going to do 4 scouting. Maybe we're only going to do 3 and then save 1 battle point for battle plans. Yeah, let's just do 3. I'm going to just do 3. And I'm already changing my strategy that I committed to do. So my thoughts here is when I look at these, obviously this is not a damaged carrier. So when I look at these, this one only has 2 carriers. I'm not going to be as threatened by Fleet 5, even though the battleship is pretty badass. Carrier Fleet 3 and 4 are the big threats, and then Battleship Fleet 1. Those are my big threats in this game. And then also, if you just look at the number of, anyways, you get the idea. So we're going to go ahead and do the U.S. scouting. Oh, I forgot to set up the game. So Battleship Fleet 1 starts in East Asia. Surface Fleet 2 is in the Philippines. 1 is in Caroline. 5, 3, they're both in Japan. Surface Fleet 3 is in East Asia. Carrier Fleet 1 is in East Asia. And then 4 and 2 are all in Japan. So lots of fleets in Japan. Okay, so let's do some scouting. So we're going to start with the battleship fleet. Make sure that one stays home. So I rolled a 5. That's a refit, so he's going back to Japan, and the supply counter moves up by 2. So the Battleship Fleet 1 is going to stay home. And I'm going to go ahead and just put that there. All right, so then we want to do Carrier Fleet 3 and 4, I think is what we agreed. The 5th one is still pretty formidable, but it at least has less carriers in it. So 3 and 4, so these are the 2. And I'm going to just set these aside. We'll do 4 first. I rolled a 3, which is a hold. That's not good. So now it's up to 6. But we did guarantee that 4 is not going anywhere. And then 3 is an 8 plus 2 is 10. That's a withdrawal. But that turns into a hold because 1 closer to Japan when you're already in Japan. So then it moves up again. So the resupply marker has advanced quickly. But in doing so, I took the 3 most dangerous fleets out of the game. So that's the strategy. And thank you to whoever suggested that. I don't think it was you, Andrew. It was, I believe it was the person who helped me with the Yorktown and Lexington history. So I think that's a decent strategy. I mean, I lost 4 battle plan points, which in the past I was using to build planes. So by not building planes, or actually 3 battle plan points. Oh, did I just spend? No, I spent 3. So I'm doing the thing that I think at the very beginning I said, oh, the scouting thing sucks. It actually doesn't. Even if they invade 1942, they're now going to do it with a much easier to defeat force. Let's put it that way. Okay. So now what do I do with my units? I just like before, I just put all my Navy in 1 stack. They actually tell you to have, like, there's some Navy that starts here. It's just a pointless thing because you're just moving them wherever you want anyways. My favorite opening move, this is like the Queen's Gambit or whatever. I have 2 battalions here. I'm moving 1 to Alaska and I'm moving the other one to Hawaii. And then that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planes that I can now move elsewhere. Hawaii is one of those things that if you if they attack it, you're going to likely lose anyway. So just don't even get to a point where they can attack Hawaii. You know, this is really your standing ground. So this is a 3-2 fighter and bomber. The bomber is actually quite decent. And so I added the other fighter bomber because you can only have 2 here. So I might as well have combo platters on there to defend Midway. And they actually did a real good job. It's just that, like always, you lose your planes. Here are some ground battle items, and all 4 of these are going to New Guinea. So we now have 6 planes in New Guinea. This is that battle that's precarious, right? And then I have 1 more plane here that can also go to New Guinea. So we do have a strong plane presence in New Guinea, but that's it. So if I wanted to like invade with anything else, like infantry or whatever, I don't have it. So trying to win this war with just planes is not going to be easy. Japan reinforced New Guinea last time to the point where it was ridiculous. Another thing to do is to abandon New Guinea. That was the other option, right? So let's just defend everything else. I don't know why I'm so passionate about keeping New Guinea. I think it's because you only have so many turns to get your objectives, and giving up New Guinea is just too much. So, okay, so what do we do with our ships? Well, okay, now this gets into the next part of the strategy. Last time I stayed in Midway, and I think it paid off. I thought that was a good plan. I'm going to set these aside. So what I did was I put 2 destroyers in Midway, and then, oh boy, I think I put, all right, hold on. I had a setup issue here. For 1942, Lexington and Enterprise should be at the Hawaiian Islands. Oh, I put them in the wrong pile. So Lexington, Enterprise both go to Midway, right? And then should be Chester, Louisville, Chicago, Northampton. Chester, Louisville, Chicago, Northampton, San Francisco, Astoria, New Orleans, Minneapolis, Honolulu, Nashville, and then ABDA starts in Australia. Subgroup 3, Subgroup 1, Desron 6. Desron 1 should be there. Desron 6 is here. And then Desron 2 is in the West Coast. So, so he starts. So we got this right. I just had the carriers in the wrong spot. Okay, so we did this, and then I put these 2 subs in there with them. And I don't think the subs hit their carriers once, because rolling a 2 or less stinks. So what somebody suggested that I do is that I put them here to reduce the reinforcements. And it's not a bad idea. It reduces it by 6. So if they roll a 14, you know, you subtract 6, you get 8. But what I was laughing about, though, is if I roll a 14, I get 2 ships. If I reduce it to 8, let me zoom in for you. If I reduce it to 14, I get 2 ships. If I reduce it to 8, I still get 2 ships. All I'm doing is reducing them by 1 infantry and 1 plane. Like, I don't like it. That's, I guess, the thing I, want to say about it. And now somebody suggested, well, put all 4 subs there. Well, the only way to pull that off is I would have to put these in Hawaii, which means that they won't go to port at the end of the turn, and then these subs will come out next turn, and now I have 4 subs, and I can subtract 12. But you got to pay attention, though, that this is going to be then an every other turn thing. So they get their full reinforcements one turn, and then the next turn we really harass them through submarine raiding, but then they're going to have to come back to port. Everything comes back to port. So that's the issue with this strategy, is it would work every other turn, because 14 minus 12, because 4 submarines would reduce it by 12. 14 minus 12 is 2, and then, yeah, that does reduce the number of ships. The infantry would still only be 1, and it would make the plane 0. Their reinforcements are brutal because they get them so much quicker than we do. I don't disagree with that. I really don't, folks. I'm of the mindset, though, that our submarines need to kill. So I'm going to do this because if we get attacked by carrier fleets, well, actually, the submarines would go after carrier fleets. Yeah, we could still get attacked by carrier fleets. So then they're just helping, you know. And if you get the lucky chance of hitting something, it is brutal to them. And then, yes, we have all these cruisers, and I have 6 of them, and I'm going to put all 6 of them in New Guinea. I think we need to win New Guinea, and of course we need to win Midway as well. It's really a crapshoot both ways, but I have to be able to do both. I really do. And it's so early in the game, I'm just going to start over if I have to. The 25th Infantry was supposed to be on the Hawaiian Islands. Where did they go? I knew something was up. What did I do with the 25th Infantry? Oh, I'm building them. Well, that's not going to work. 25th Infantry is actually in the game. And yes, I'm moving them over to Midway. And somebody, they made me laugh. They said that the 25th Infantry is so large they couldn't fit on Midway. That's funny, because it's probably true. So, New Caledonia, Borneo. Oh. I forgot to set up the battalions for the Solomon Islands has one, and then West Coast times. Okay, we got all that covered. We did it right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we're good. We're good now. Okay, so yeah, that's the strategy. Take it or leave it, huh? So let's see what happens now with them. So as always, this one starts. I rolled a 9. It's adding a 5. That's a 14. So they're joining a battle. Now there are 2 battles. So first of all, let's do even odd. Even is the infantry. So infantry is the one joining the battle. And then even odd. Even is Samoa Island. Odd is going to be New Guinea. There's only 2 battles going on right now. It's odd. So this infantry, the 6th base, is going to be on a transport to try to support New Guinea. All right. And then, yeah, the resupply counter does not move up. So I forgot to put my markers out, but that would mean he's done. And then these are all done. And technically all of these guys are not moving. Okay, next lowest supply, or next lowest counter would be, I'm gonna go with it's actually Japan because of what we did. There's 2 fleets in East Asia plus some ground troops. There's only 1 fleet here, but there's a whole bunch of ground troops. And then here, there's just 2 fleets, and that's it. So, oh no, I'm sorry. This is the next one. This guy's the next one, and then Japan. So we're gonna do Caroline Islands. I rolled an 8 plus a 5 is 13. They're moving east. So they would just go here. And they're done. Okay, and resupply marker does not move. So now we're doing Japan, this is another interesting twist. So carrier fleet 2 is 5 plus 5 is 10. They are withdrawing, which they can't do. So that becomes a hold. So that's where this is going to amp up quick. But carrier fleet 2 is also out. And now it's carrier fleet 5, who might go to Midway. Nope, that's the 14. They're going to a battle. So again, even is Samoa, odd is New Guinea. I rolled even, so I got a little lucky there. So they're going to Samoa to make Samoa extremely difficult for us. So then we move to the Philippines next, and then Surface Fleet 2. I rolled a 1. that becomes a support. So they're moving backwards towards Japan to support Japanese forces. So Surface Fleet 2 would move to Okinawa, and they would take 1 infantry with them, and they take 2 planes with them. It does advance the resupply by 1. Now here's the part where I get confused a little. Just throwing out another rule question. I am carrying troops and I'm doing a support, so I move backwards. Do I land my troops there? And I'm assuming no. I'm only going to land my troops if I'm actually doing a, like if it says reinforce, or if it's a battle or a sortie or an offensive. So that's the way I've been playing, but just letting you know that there's a little bit of ambiguity in that as well. So anyways, all of those guys are done. So now I'm continuing to roll, not for a fleet, but just for these planes. And this would be a wonderful time to roll midway. So I got an 8, so they're going up to a sortie. So they're going to a US held objective other than Hawaiian Islands if they cannot Alaska. But here's the deal, it's only planes. So if there's no Japanese forces ashore, they go to Japan. So I get to subtract their counter by 4, and 2 of the planes are going to Japan. And my apologies, my dog decided to throw a ball at my feet. She's done with midway. All right, hold on a second. All right, so she's chasing the ball right now. Okay, we got to keep rolling for those planes. 8 plus 5 is 13. So they're going to go east, 2 of the planes, and that's all I needed. It was just to move 2. So this is done, and these are done. And now, yeah, I forgot to put the marker on, but those are all done. So all that's left is East Asia. So we're going to do Carrier Fleet 1. I rolled a 10, plus a 5 is 15. So they're going to reinforce an objective with Japanese forces ashore. So it's an objective that has Japanese force. So it's going to be either New Guinea or Gilbert. So, and then this should not be here. It's over there. It's Guinea or Gilbert, so it's an even odd. Even for New Guinea. So they're going to Gilbert. So Carrier Fleet 1 is going here. And since it is a reinforce, I'm going to drop off the troops. And then just, oh, I don't grab the new ones until they leave. And then we're going to roll for the, 3 planes and an infantry comes with them. So the 38th Infantry comes, and then the 1 plane that's there also comes. Okay, so now I'm rolling for Surface Fleet 3. I rolled a 9, plus 5 is 14. They're joining a battle. So even is Samoa, odd is New Guinea. They're going to Samoa. So we got lucky all across the board there. So Surface Fleet 3 goes here. They didn't even go to midway this turn. And it might be largely because of what we did, but it's also some die roll luck. So 2nd Infantry is coming in on a transport along with them. Okay, so we're done with all the movements and everything. This is our situation. I can take away all the markers. Midway does not have a battle, which is interesting. So that means our infantry just lands, no problem, and I take away the transport. I was using a Japanese transport. Okay, so I think the most interesting part about this is we did get lucky with New Guinea. 2 of these fleets could have intercepted us in New Guinea. So I highly recommend that you don't follow this strategy in your playthrough at home. you may want to let New Guinea fall. But with that said, I mean, this was the Battle of the Coral Sea, I guess. If I knew nobody was coming to Midway, I would have sent my carriers there. That's the thing. It really would have been thematic. But because of the whole Midway threat. Anyways, this one is a super overkill battle. I got a Carrier Fleet 5, which has 2 carriers. Surface Fleet 3, which is only got 1 cruiser. But I'm going to take the infantry from both, add them to the transports. This is what the battle would look like. I think Borneo, from a rules perspective, they get 1 extra battalion added to the forces. So they're going to look like this. And they get 2 fortifications because we never held it. And just like before, I'm going to call it and just take the kill. I don't think it's worth playing through, but I will roll for how many battle turns. It is only 1 battle turn. Do I really want to set it up to go through all this? No, I really don't. I think even in 1 battle turn, if they roll bad, I could somehow survive this. But then it just means I have to do the battle again next turn. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They would get to roll 3. They would get 3 battle plans, air combat, Navy gun rolls, and adjust the battle duration by 1. Yeah, I'm not gonna go through it. I'm forfeiting. So yeah, they would have had 2 turns to kill 1 little battalion. Not gonna do it. So then let's resolve the only other battle this turn, and it's the New Guinea one. So if the Japanese start with forces ashore, they get 1 land-based aircraft from reinforcements. So here it is, and one, 2, 3, 4. And 1 guy in his foxhole, and 1 is landing. Because remember, the orders forced them to go there. And then we have a bunch. And we brought the punch. So every cruiser I had and 1 destroyer is here. So let's roll for battle turns. That's an 8, so that is 3 battle turns. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 troops, so they are going to get 2 battle plans every turn. Oh, yeah, we don't draw theirs yet until we pick ours. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's a 5 and a 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a 3 and a 2. Okay, so the big important thing here is that this infantry will get hit last. We would have to go through all the airfields first. This infantry, the base one, if he lands, he has a 0 on him, so he would get hit first. But he's in the transport right now, which is a 4, so he's going to be pretty protected, and he'll probably be able to land. So I think because I sent all of my surface ships, we for sure want to get the +1 hit for surface ships. So then what else do we do? And the furball is an attractive one because it's an extra hit with dogfights, but I'm going to stop 1 hit on an airfield, so that protects our planes. And that's it. So let's draw the 2 battle plans for them. First one is no contact, which helps us. The second one is ship combat. So they get extra value on their naval gun rolls, but they don't have any Navy. So this was really good for us. A good first turn. Okay, so we move the US aircraft first. Obviously, I want to protect the airfields. They could go after our ships, so that's an issue as well. Their bomber group is going to go after one target only. So it's either our airfields or the ships. It's not going to be both. And since they're land-based, all of their bombers are going to go after one target. So first of all, I have these three here, if you can see well enough. Those are my my fighters. So a 5-3, a 5-3, and a 3-2. These two have really poor ground battle, but they're at least something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send one of these to guard our ships, right? So they'll at least do dogfight to help protect our ships, but the other two are going to dogfight over the airfields. And then all of our bombers are staying over the airfields. There's no reason not to. So that's my move. Now for them, as you can see, there's 2 zeros here and a third one. So those are all fighting groups, and these are the 2 bomber groups. So let's roll for their bomber group. I rolled a 9, which would be the ocean, so they are going after our ships because we come back down. And the fighter groups are going to go as one group. So wherever, I don't have to roll for each of them individually because all of them are from the same area. It's just that with carriers, you only ever have one fighter per carrier, so that's the reason why you always roll them separately. So which one are they going to? I rolled a 7, so it's the same deal. They're all going after the ships. So it's all in on the ships, which, you know, it makes me wish I had my fighters helping the ships, but it opens up the land portion to be really bad for them, as long as I can survive the ship part of the battle, right? So we do dogfight first, and so they have 2 8-4s and 1 6-3, which is very bad news for me. So the 6-3 will be the blue and purple die here. So there you go. There's 2 hits. There's my plane's destroyed, and I have a 5-3, and I rolled a 10, so I didn't even hit with it. So my little escort plane, he's gone. So nothing I can do about that. The good news is none of those hit the ships, and there is no dogfight over the island. So then we do anti-air. And remember here, there's no 2 rows, even though it looks like there's 2 rows. It's just 1 attack per plane. So I have 5 planes, so I get to roll 5 anti-air. I have a destroyer here with 3. This one's a 3. So 2 3s and 3 2s. Okay, so let's do the 2 3s first. Both of them missed, and then the 3 2s. 1 hit. That is awful. Awful. And the 1 hit is going to go against one of these zeros, and we're going to pick the more powerful one. And now there's no anti-air against us, so now they get to pummel us. Well, the only good news here is this one is a 2 against C target, and this is a 4. So a 2 and a 4 for them. The 2 will be the blue die. And of course they hit. They got 1 hit on us. 1 hit will not sink us, so that's good. And this one, even though he has a good anti-air, he has the worst naval combat, so I will flip him. So the Honolulu takes a hit. And that's it. They didn't do much to us. So we have 2 2s and 1 3 and 3 4s. So let's go in that order. The 2 2s first. Misses. 1 3, miss. And then 3 4s. I have 1 hit. So we did 1 hit on them, and that is going to be against the airfield. So they just got reduced to 4. Our bombers didn't do all that hot. Okay, so next up is the naval guns, which only we have. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fours, and 2 twos. So let's do the 2 twos first. Those are both misses, and now the 5 fours. Those are 3 misses. Oh, come on. And then there's 2 hits, finally. All right, so those 2 hits, I'm turning into a 3rd hit because of this. So we just inflicted 3 hits on them. And I guess the only good news is we just destroyed their airfield down to 1. So, so we're at the end of the round and everything's advancing. So this infantry, for example, moved onto the beach. Oh, I'm sorry, their infantry gets to attack. I rolled a 6. I know it's hard to see. It's a 6, and he needed a 4 or better. So their infantry landed, the transport goes away. And the only good news here is our plane survived, and our airport survived. They're down to 1 airport, so only 1 plane gets to land. And you have to do it in the same order of the bracket. So all 3 zeros are destroyed, which is good for us. And they're going to go back into the reinforcement pool. Then we get to pick one of the bombers, and since they're both rated the same, we get to pick, so I'm picking this one, the 4-4. So their planes got neutered, and I think our chances of winning this battle have now grown. The infantry of theirs is going to be tough, but you know, meaning that they can hit us. But I really like our chances now, and I'm definitely not going to be losing my ship, even though it's going to cost me 1 to repair this one. So I'm really happy with this. So we move down to 2 turns, and I'm going to draw for the battle plans. All right, so I got to figure out what to do with the ones that don't apply anymore. So I'm going to take these battle plans and just set them over here. So this one is one we didn't want to see. The infantry now get +3, +2 on their infantry rolls. So that +2 means that if they roll a 2 or less, they actually do 2 hits. And then this one is a worthless one for them. Okay, so we get to assign our planes. Our planes are staying over the island. There's no dogfight, there's no AA, so we just basically get to do a free, I'm sorry, we have to roll for their bomber. Where's their bomber gonna go? And I rolled a 2, so their bomber is gonna go after our airport as well. So there is a dogfight, it's us going against him. So we have a 5-3 and a 3-2. The 3-2 will be the blue one. And the 3-2 hits, and actually the 5-3 hits as well. So we did 2 hits, so their bomber is destroyed. Yay, team. The crazy part about this is that the Japanese just rebuild them later. So we will see it again. And I just knocked over their stack of planes because for whatever reason, I'm just awful at fat fingering these counters. Okay, their counters are like the FFG sleeves on cards. They just always fall over no matter how many ways I try to stack them. Okay, so we get to do free bombing run here. So 2 2s, 1 3, and 3 4s. So let's do the 2 2s first. That's 1 hit. The 1 3 is a miss. And I said 3 4s. 2 more hits. So that's what, 3 hits? So we did 3 hits on them. And this part is really good because one of them, yes, has to go against, or no, 2 of them goes against this infantry, which is good. And then the 3rd one's against the airfield. So that means their infantry is now finally ready for destruction. And we got rid of the other infantry that just landed. And we get to do our naval guns. So 1 2 3 4 5 4s and 2 2s. Let's do the 5 4s first. 1 hit. and there's 2 more hits. So the battle's over. Their infantry never got to attack with that +3, and that was a perfect outcome for us. With the exception of taking this 1 hit, I'm very pleased with this outcome. So we successfully held New Guinea, and we have a lot of Air Force left, which that by itself is a big deal. And we can maybe use those to help us in other places. And this brings us to the end of the round. I still had 1 battle plan point left, which I'm going to use it to repair this. Now, I don't do this until the next turn, but I'm just doing it now while I remember. It will cost me 1 point to do that. So I had 1 left over because we never used it. And yes, that's how it will be used on the next turn. But yes, there's no harm in doing it early. All of our ships are going back to port. I know I'm a little ahead of myself. Bear with me, it's how my mind works. I like to do these types of things out of order. Okay, so now let's go back into order and resolve their reinforcements. I rolled a 9 for them, and they're adding an 11, so they got a 20, which means they just produced 3 ships and 3 infantry and 3 planes. So that's a lot of production if you compare what they're doing to us. So for a resource shortage Japan, that was pretty lame. Okay, so this full-blown carrier is joining Carrier Fleet 1. This light carrier is joining Carrier Fleet 2, and then a full-blown carrier is joining Carrier Fleet 1. So our little strategy of holding back Fleet 3 and 4 is no longer as viable because Carrier Fleet 1 is now just as badass for them. But it was interesting, and it did work. I mean, in fact, we didn't even get attacked in Midway at all this turn. So it's a food for thought I got to think about for this next one. And maybe we let the surface fleet do its thing and we just hold back their carrier fleets. I don't know, but it was definitely a good idea. So the U.S. Japanese repair, nothing happens there. U.S. supply check is fine. Defeat check is fine. We move to turn 2. That was 48 minutes. So with turn 2, as you know, 2 get held back, 1 goes forward. I'm going to take the Aussie, and this one will start in Australia. And I'm going to use him to reinforce New Guinea. We still have Borneo as an issue, but I don't think I can do anything about that this turn. And yes, we get 20 points. But I'm going to look at here, 7 of those points are going to be used to finish this. So I'm going to just take 13 from the pool. So I just have to flip those over, and there's 13. All right, so we're thinking of scouting 4 ships again, which stinks because, that's using up a lot of my... So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 5 points towards this and finish this. So now we have a standard one of those. So by putting 5 points towards that, that leaves me with 8 points here. And I think what I want to do is I want to save 4 for scouting, right? So we'll do that. And then let's get some more of these built. So I can go up to 6 capacity now. I'm at 2. So if I build a Marine, that costs 2. And then this is 3, 4. So that's 4 of my points. And that leaves me with 1 extra point that I'm going to just carry over for battle plans. So I actually have 5 points in the supply point pool. And then a crap ton of infantry being in production with no planes or anything else yet. So that's interesting. But we're going to start getting more supply points as this goes on. And that's going to help us get this stuff built that we need to build. And yes, this is huge. This one costs 20 points, so that's going to be a big drain on us. But I only have one. Well, I can build battalions, which that would be just as helpful, just to have battalions to go to all these places. So anyways, what are we going to do again? So we have 4 scouting points. Do I want to use all 4, first of all? I'm thinking yes, I do. And Carrier Fleet 1 is actually here. And it might be interesting to pin them, and maybe we can do a big battle there. But then I'm making Midway Island vulnerable. I still like the idea. So let's go after Carrier Fleet 1. Let's roll for them. I rolled a 9. So they are doing a withdrawal, which means they're going 1 closer to Japan, and this would go up by 1. So what does that mean? 1 closer to Japan for them would be where there's Japanese forces, of course. They wouldn't go to the Solomon Islands. So they're actually going to the Marshall Islands. And they're done. And for the withdrawal, they would take 1 infantry and 2 planes. So these 2 planes, I'm sorry, this plane would go with them. And by the way, this plane was done because he was the only land-based force there, and they would take 1 infantry with them. So this would go, and Carrier Fleet 1 would grab 2 infantry from the pool. So anyways, that's what that would look like. And this infantry, of course, would be on a transport at this time. I don't know how excited I am about going after that now, because there's a surface fleet there too, although that surface fleet might end up moving. It's nice that they took one of their infantry away from Gilbert Islands. That part I like. And in fact, we're going to have to continue rolling for Gilbert Islands whenever it's time to roll. So they do move, which is the interesting part. So even though they buffered them up, it's only a temporary thing. So I think the next thing we'll do is Carrier Fleet. So I think we decided we're going to let the battleship fleet move on. So we're going to do 4, 3, and 2. We're going to do their scouting action. So I'm going to spend all 4 of these points. Let's do Carrier Fleet 4. That's a 5. Which is a refit in Japan. And they're already in Japan, so this might turn into a hold. So give me a second. I wish they put it on the board. I don't understand why. They cannot perform this order if you're rolling for forces in Japan, and the area instead becomes a hold. So it becomes a hold, and then this moves up to 5. So Carrier Fleet 4 at least is stuck in Japan. So now we're rolling for Carrier Fleet 3. I rolled a 6. I'm sorry, my dog brought a ball back again. I rolled a 6 plus 2 is an 8. That's a withdrawal. Again, that becomes a hold order. So we are amping this up quickly because they're in Japan. And then Carrier Fleet 2 is a 5 plus 5 is 10. That's a withdrawal that also becomes a hold order. So we at least forced the 3 carrier fleets to stay in Japan. Even though whatever rolls next is going to possibly go after Midway. So Midway is at threat. So that means me trying to go all in at Marshall Islands. I'm not sure that's a good idea. I think Midway is definitely something that's going to be in the cards. So there's 2 destroyers, and then there's our 2 carriers. And now the question becomes, because Japan can still go after other places. Like they can roll a battle, for example, and have to go somewhere where there's a battle. And in fact, if they can't join a battle, it becomes a hold. They can go after a U.S. held objective with a sortie. I'm going all in for Midway. So if they are going to take me on in Midway, I say bring it. All right, so let's figure out where their stuff's going to go. We have 2 planes sitting here in Carolina, and we have 2 extra battalions here in Gilbert. So we'll do Gilbert first. I rolled an 8 plus a 10 is 18. And that's a sortie. So they're going to a U.S. held objective other than the Hawaiian Islands. So 2, 4, 6, 8. They're going to Midway. And here's what's crazy. It is 2 infantry. And that's all they have is 2 battalion units. So they're going to Midway on a transport with no military support other than the transport. These are the crazy Japanese there. But yeah, that's their move. And it moves this down by 4, which is an interesting situation. So now we do the 2 planes in the Caroline. So that's a 4 plus 5 is 9. They're doing a withdrawal, and it's 1 infantry and 2 planes. So it's gonna be 1 infantry for sure, and then 1 of the planes. And I guess you should randomly determine which plane it is, but I'm not going to. Just took whatever one's on top. So they're done. And that does move this up by 1. Okay, so Borneo is quite powerful. Okinawa is, and so is Japan. So I'm going to say Borneo actually has the most because they have a carrier fleet 5 and a surface fleet. So we're going to do Okinawa, or actually East Asia only has 1 guy. So that's a 6 plus 5, that's 11. They're going to support, which they can't do, so it then becomes a hold. That hurts. All right, and then I just realized Surface Fleet 1 here still needs to go, so they're next. 3 plus 10 is 13. They're going east. 1 closer to Hawaiian Islands that has Japanese forces ashore. They can't. Oh no, they can. This is 1 step closer, and it has Japanese forces ashore. So otherwise, they were going to do a sortie, Alaska, or offensive. That would have been brutal. Okay, so they're done. Now we're going to do Okinawa. 6 plus 10 is 16. They're going to reinforce an objective with Japanese forces ashore. Well, there's only, this objective, by the way, flipped to us. There's only 1 objective. So Surface Fleet 2 is also coming here to join Surface Fleet 1 to reinforce. And they bring with them 1 infantry and 3 planes. So 1 infantry and 3 planes. So that's everybody for them and everybody for Okinawa. And then we're going to do Japan next. 2 plus 10 is 12. They're going south. And it's going to be the battleship fleet. Well, south actually means towards Australia. That's actually 1 step closer to Australia. So they're going to Okinawa. And they bring an infantry and 2 planes. So now I'm only rolling for planes. 17, they're doing a sortie against a U.S. held objective, but it's only planes, so they just go to Japan, and it does not say that that turns into a hold order. And then we're going to roll for the last one. They did a 16. They're going to reinforce an objective with Japanese forces, so this guy is flying to the Gilbert Islands. So they're all done, and now all that's left is Samoa. I rolled a 12, so they're going to go closer to Australia. If they cannot, they're going to go east. So Carrier Fleet 5 is going to... It says 1 closer to Hawaiian Islands that has forces ashore. It cannot. So now I have to roll, because we're doing the east here. It cannot, because we have forces ashore and on their only path to the east. So I just rolled a 5, so they're doing a sortie instead. So they're going against the U.S. held objective. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I rolled a 1, so they're actually going to go to New Guinea. And they bring with them 2 infantry. And they would take the 2nd Infantry and a battalion. And then Carrier Fleet 5 has its own infantry that it's going to bring. So it's another battalion. So they got an invasion force. They're going after New Guinea. And then we got to roll for the Surface Fleet 3. The sortie, by the way, reduces them by 4. And 5 plus 5 is 10. They're withdrawing. And so they're going to go to there, and they bring with them 1 infantry. And I still have to roll for this 1 more infantry. They moved this up by 1, by the way. 3 and 5 is 8, so that 1 extra infantry is withdrawing. And this moves up to 12. Okay, so from a battle perspective, Midway was avoided again. And the only battle is happening in New Guinea here, which is interesting because we could have easily won that battle if we would have known, but there's just no way to know. This was the die roll gods here. I think, you know, had they rolled a 9 or a 10, we could have very easily had a Midway attack. It's just this time around, I didn't roll a 9 or a 10. So that's the part that hurts a little bit. But if we lose New Guinea, we lose New Guinea. That's way better than losing Midway. Carrier Fleet 5 is defeatable if I had my Navy up against them. It's not defeatable with just a bunch of planes that don't have a sea value. They have only ground attack values. So that part hurts. Anyways, I'm going to end the video here, and we'll start the battles on the next video. So thank you for watching. Stay awesome and stay healthy and safe.